Hi, welcome. This is the caddyinfo.com, CADDYINFO. Caddyinfo.com is Caddy Info is a Cadillac enthusiast site where we talk about Cadillac automobiles and luxury automobiles and competing automobiles. And this is used to be our Thursday night chat. Now it's our Wednesday night chat because I have an ongoing conflict for the next few months. I have with me tonight Texas Jim from the forum. Let me focus on Texas Jim.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Exactly. And we may have some other people join us in progress. We'll have to see. So, Jim, the big news, there's a couple of topics I want to talk about. One is we keep saying the way to get sales back up is to get the prices where they're better value for the car. Now, the head of Cadillac this week said nothing doing, that he feels like he's going to move away Cadillac needs to move away from traditional Cadillac buyers and move up market, and that he's going to find a lot of buyers up market to replace the traditional buyers. So what do you think about that?
Well, then he just lost me.
Yeah, we're done, huh?
Yeah, for good, because they're pricing me plumb out of the market, along with a lot of other people.
Now, and I am educated as a mathematician, but it seems to me that if you're trying to increase your buyers, if you have a certain number of buyers and you wanted to make that number go up, you wouldn't decrease it first, right?
No.
I mean, so if I want to make this number go up, I would add buyers, right?
Yes.
If you want to increase the number, you add buyers, right? You don't
Right.
say, I don't need the current buyers. I'm going to go find some new buyers. That didn't even make good sense. Now, would you say that if your sales were down and you didn't know why and you just got here? That would be why I'd say that, right?
Yes.
That I'm not worried about it. I didn't want those buyers. Those grapes sour. Then I might say that. But the problem to me about saying I'm going to get a whole another luxury buyer at a higher price point is they're not buying your car at a lower price point. Why would they buy it at a higher price point?
Right. Now, see, my son went and looked at one the other day,
Yeah,
and in the next few months, now he didn't particularly care for the ATS,
you said.
but in the next few months, he's going to be looking at the upper price range of the CTS or maybe the CTS-V Sport. Now he's in the uh, early to mid 40s age group. He's got a good job, he makes good money, and he can afford that right now. But there's a lot of people in that age group that would like to have one, but even at the current prices, since they've raised them so much in the last 2, 3, 4 years, it's put a lot of people out of the market.
Now, just to make it clear for everybody, Cadillac does offer a variety of cars from the low 30s up to almost $100,000 or maybe a little bit over $100,000 for the Escalade Platinum by the time you option it up. And so the issue is not can you get a Cadillac at every price point from 35 up to, as I say, $95,000. The issue is what cars are at what price points. I think that traditional CTS buyers have certainly discovered that the CTS moved from the 30s and 40s up to the 50s and 60s. And so if you bought a CTS in 2004, as I did, and then you went back in 2008 and bought a CTS, and now you're coming back in 2012, 2016 to buy a CTS, then you would be shocked to find that you can't afford it. That the price has gone up $20,000. But that said, Cadillac offers cars at all price points. So does what he's saying even make sense?
No, it don't. It don't. And having your fully optioned Cadillacs, which a lot of people, not everyone, I know, but a lot of people, when they want a Cadillac, they want one with all the bells and whistles on it. And they go look at a base CTS in the 40s, but then by the time they option it out and put everything on it, it's in the low 60s. So that's 50% more, maybe, than what they had originally planned on spending.
Yes.
And so if you had budgeted for, say, 45 to 50, and you bump that up to 63 from 45, there's a lot of people that can't afford that payment.
And we got a Q&A from Elizabeth who said hi. So hi to Elizabeth. If you're wanting to join us online and talk about Cadillacs, Elizabeth, then circle me on Google Plus, and I'll shoot you an invite if you want to join us live. So yeah, I have a real concern. I don't understand exactly what he's trying to communicate. The other thing is, if you were on plan, you wouldn't have a year's worth of ATSs sitting on the lot, right?
Correct.
In other words, if I wanted to sell the ATSs at a certain level and I was expecting a certain number of buyers for those, then my projection wouldn't have been 4 times higher than my current sales rate. So now the other thing that was fascinating that the head of Cadillac said is the Cadillac resurgence may take 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years.
Well, that means that people like my son, that's fixing to be 45, then he's going to be 60 in 15 years. And, he'll be...
I would like to communicate to...
if they take 15 years, they're going to lose half of the people they got now.
Well, there's no way he'll be given 15 years to do, Johann Danition, he will not be in this job 10 years from now if Cadillac has not made a resurgence. He won't be in this job 4 years from now if Cadillac has not made a resurgence.
Correct.
That's how he got the job, is that Cadillac hadn't made a resurgence, and they've changed heads of Cadillac every 2 years for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I think that really shows he's out of touch to say that GM's going to give him 10 to 15 years to make this change.
I think he's living off, I don't know what he's smoking, but it must be some good stuff. Because he's way out there. He's not grounded in reality.
Yes, exactly. Or he's got his next job lined up.
One or the other. Or both.
Now, the actual quote, however, was, it will take 10 to 15 years for Cadillac to return to its position as one of the preeminent global premium brands. So one could argue that what he's saying is 10 to 15 years before Cadillac is number 1 or number 2 in sales. Not just back there, but number 1 or number 2 in customer regard and in sales. So I suppose we can give him some leeway there, but
just give a second. Let me call you right back.
We'll stick Jim on mute here for a moment while his brother calls, who's a truck driver on the road. So now I'm going to unmute. Detected, muted. I'm trying to unmute you, Jim, but I'm not sure.
I did it.
Oh, good. Okay, so I have some real life experience to report with. We took my wife's ATS off to. Unfortunately, I had a family funeral in Arkansas, and so we took my wife's ATS out to Arkansas for the funeral, and I got to play extensively with the adaptive cruise control. which I found fascinating. Now, the way adaptive cruise control in Cadillacs works is it's actually intelligent. It's actually the roots of the cars driving themselves. And you could very clearly see that intelligence and how some of that's going to work in the way it works in the cars today. And so the way adaptive cruise control works is it has a radar system that monitors the cars ahead of you. And the perfect scenario we ran into on the way was I had the cruise control on. I had it set for 75. We're going along at 75. There was a truck up ahead, and the cruise control puts a symbol up to show me it recognizes that we're catching up on a truck. Now, as we get closer to the truck, I'm still in the right lane. As we get closer to the truck, the ATS matched the speed of the ATS to the speed of that truck. So if we were going 75 and I stayed in the right lane, then the car gradually slowed to 68 to match the speed of the truck. Now the lanes changed to a construction area. The truck moved into the left lane and we moved into the left lane. We stayed at the same speed of the truck. I never touched the brakes. We stayed at the same speed as the truck in the left lane. The right lane cleared again. The truck pulled back into the right lane. The Cadillac recognized there was no longer a truck ahead of us, and the car sped back up to 75. So I never had to touch the brakes through the entire maneuver, and the car maintained the ideal speed all the way through. And so I think I was tickled with it. Now I will say this: if you're going along at 75, as it catches up with a car or truck ahead of you, it will slow down and match their speed so that you don't ram them, right? But you have to monitor that. Otherwise, if you're chatting with somebody, you'll kind of get your attention back on the road and realize you've been going on at 68 for the last 10 minutes because you rolled up behind a truck. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so what you actually have to do is when that little symbol comes on, the signal that it senses a car ahead of you, that's the time to go ahead and pull into the left lane. To check and see if it's clear to pull into the left lane to pull around and pass them. And then once you're past, pull back into the right lane. But I was thoroughly tickled with the Elizabeth is asking what our favorite car is. My favorite car at the moment, Elizabeth, is actually my wife's Cadillac ATS. I know Jim's favorite car is his new Cadillac DTS Platinum. And so thanks for asking. So I'm actually very impressed with the adaptive cruise control, and I look forward to having that on my next Cadillac. I think that type of automation fits right in with the lane change warning, the blind zone alert, and so on. The other things that just make the car safer. And so if somebody were to veer in front into my lane, the car would automatically slow down. And I see value in that. Now you can choose to turn it off. You can choose what range of sensitivity you want. So I left it set at mid-range. You can actually choose to have a short-range sensitivity, which may fit your driving style better, or you can have a long-range sensitivity if that suits you better. But I just left it on mid-range sensitivity, and that seemed to work just fine. I would say when I was 5 or 6 seconds behind a truck ahead, it was signaling me that we were coming up on a car, which is plenty of time to move. What I actually did is because I was trying to teach myself how close to the truck it would get before it would slow down. So what I would actually do is I would monitor the speed, and if it's dropped to 74, then I pull over in the left lane. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Now so there were some other charming things. Of course, the phone interface works much better because it actually uses the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth for everything on the phone interface. So when you actually dial the phone, you can choose off the driver information center the contacts on the phone, the contacts on the iPhone. So that I can choose phone and then choose contacts, and then choose my brother's name, and it would dial my brother. All that right there on the driver information center in the car. And so I was very happy with that. The other thing is we had some mixed luck with the telling the nav system exactly the address we wanted to go to. Now in my Cadillac, of course, you could put in an address in the nav system, but you have to do it manually, and you have to do it when the vehicle stopped. And so the advantage of putting it in by voice recognition would be that you can do it while the vehicle's moving. But every time I said 1304 Todd Drive, it would write 13040 Todd Drive. And I never could get it to just go to the right address. It would always add a 0 to the address for whatever reason. So either my accent is bad, or the air conditioner was too loud, or I'm not trained with that car.
Of course, now, I don't have any kind of an accent.
Yeah.
Every time
everybody from where you are talks like you, right?
Yeah, everybody talks like this. They say I don't have an accent. Everybody else has accents.
Exactly.
But when I tell mine something, about half the time, when I try to use the voice recognition, and I know it's not the car's fault. I know it's my voice. I was joking.
Yes.
But I'll tell it, do this or do that or go here or whatever. It'll say, pardon?
Yes. So part of that's self-inflicted for me, because my wife's name is Ann, my son's name is Andrew, right? So when I recorded the cell number, I said, well, I either want to call Ann's cell phone or I want to call Andrew's cell phone. So I recorded one under the voice name Ann Cell, and the other one under the voice name Andrew Cell, which are, of course, are really close together from a voice recognition, right?
Yeah.
And so I should have made it, darn wife and son, or just made it wife and, dial wife, dial son, and made them very different. And I still need to go back and do that. But yeah, I put a voice tag for several things, and that's worked out great for me for dialing home or dialing the Chinese food place on the way home and so on. And I do have good luck with that. And I suspect the ATS, the voice recognition, works well enough. The other thing the ATS will do with the Bluetooth is, whenever I get in the ATS, it automatically connects with Pandora on the iPhone and will begin to play songs off my iPhone. So it automatically connects. It automatically recognizes the phone's there, uses it as a telephone, recognizes music on the phone, and will play it through. In terms of the mechanics or the dynamics of the car, of course, the drive went great. It's a terrifically comfortable car. We got about 29 miles per gallon. That's with a 2-liter turbo untuned. So 29 miles per gallon both ways. So it is better than my car at 75, but it's not, it's a step function better than the North Star, but it's not, huge, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So I mean, 29 miles per gallon is, my car gets about 22. I think the North Star got 23 and a half. The 4.9 liter got 25 or 26 on the same range, and so on the same route. And so 29 is much better, especially considering that it has, similar power to the early North Stars. Now, if we went ahead and tuned it, it would actually have more power than the North Stars, but my wife has not expressed a desire for that yet, and I'm very carefully not manipulating her car based on what I've learned from your stories.
But sometimes, see, you can do it and just don't tell them. And if it's not drastic, they won't ever notice it.
Yeah, I can't think that this is a good plan, though. Doing things and not telling your wife, doing things that affect your wife's stuff and not telling her, I think is a bad plan. But well, unless it's a happy surprise. In which case, good, 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 good. But yeah, I enjoyed taking the ATS on a trip. I think which trips we take it on would depend on how much, like, if we needed if we had another couple with us, then we'd probably want the bigger car than the ATS. But but it will fit her gigantic suitcase in it. So if it was just the two of us traveling, then we'd probably take the ATS. But this has also made me think more about what car I might want to replace the STSV, because I'm more keen these days on getting the better miles per gallon than I am on having another 200 horsepower. But we'll see when it comes time to shop
So,
and see what the choices are that day. They So any more news on your DTS Platinum?
no, except it's just been flawless so far. Haven't had a minute's trouble with it.
Anything different? Now you've talked about some of the performance differences, and you've talked about some ride differences. Anything different in the electronics from 2006 to this new one?
According to the book, according to the specs, no. They should be the same, but they're not.
All
This
right.
one rides this one rides a good bit smoother, and it but the one thing I miss from the other one is the road feel. The feedback through the steering wheel, through the car. This one has real light steering. Steering is real easy on it.
Yes.
And the other one was actually, I reckon you'd kind of say it had heavy steering. It was fairly hard to turn. Both of the '06s were, but this one, you can just take your finger, and just turn it with one finger, without a problem. And the other one, if you had tried to turn it with one finger, you'd have broke your finger. It wouldn't, it wouldn't have worked. But out on the highway, the other one, once you got up to highway speed, say 70 plus,
Yes.
it got the suspension would stiffen up and, well, for lack of a better term, it just kind of hunkered down to the road, like it was just glued to the road.
Nice.
And the steering would also stiffen up a little, even more than normal, and it just had excellent feedback. You could tell what the wheels was doing. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of other people don't understand that.
Right. Right.
Well, this one is missing at least 50% of that.
Hmm.
It's not as uh it's not as planted. It's not as solid, as the other car was.
You think it's a different batch of tires kind of thing? Or
Well, it
you
could
think
be.
they've literally tuned the response, because the suspension should actually be more responsive as we get newer generations of the magnetic suspension, but it could be different batch of tires than the other ones, right?
Well, now the other ones I did have ultra performance tires on it,
Right, which would give you
but
more communication and less dampening.
but both of the '06s, the original stock tires were the Bridgestone Turanzas. You remember how I used to fuss about them?
Right.
Okay, this one has the Bridgestone Turanzas on it. It's a factory tire.
Yes.
So it's the same tires that came as factory equipment on the other two. So, but it doesn't drive like the other two, even when the other ones had the factory tires on. And these tires don't seem to be as sticky on corners Now I haven't took it. I haven't took it out yet to some of my favorite roads out here west of town. Little 2-lane roads with switchbacks and stuff like that. I
Right.
haven't. I haven't took it out there yet and played with it to see how it sticks. But in just driving, did get in a little contest the other day with a new Buick LaCrosse. Uh, no, it had some numbers on the trunk. It wasn't GT, but it was supposedly the performance model of the Buick LaCrosse.
Right.
And he can't stay with it running, straight line, and he can't stay with it on the corner. He tried. I
Well,
could,
that's
you know,
surprising.
the DTS would out corner LaCrosse. He started sliding,
Huh.
and he was following me, and I'm sure his stability track was kicking in because the back end, as we were going around one of these traffic circles,
Right.
roundabouts or whatever you want to call them, and he was trying to stay up with me, and he couldn't. And then after we got around that, we went a few blocks, had to stop at a light. So he took off from the light, squalling his tires. I wasn't expecting him to, so it took me a second to catch up with him, and then I passed him. And then he told me I was number one, and he made a left turn.
Huh.
So he didn't appreciate it. I thought it was kind of funny. But he did tell me I was number one.
Well, you think it was an all-wheel drive variant? That
I
could give him a little more weight.
I don't know.
They have the
I don't know
3.6
what
liter.
horsepower they have.
They have the 3.6 liter with the 304.
But it wasn't
So
running right then because
now they
he
still
couldn't.
have the 6-speed transmission, so not much advantage there. The but I don't see what their up model is in terms of trim levels. They offer the leather group or the premium one group in the lacrosse. The base
Okay,
lacrosse has the
wait a minute, wait a minute. I misspoke. That wasn't a lacrosse. It was a Regal. Do they still have the Regal? It's the
yes,
smaller one. It's the
yeah, the
smaller one from the
Regal.
lacrosse. That's what it was. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
misspoke.
so let me get back to the build page for the Regal. Um,
But I was surprised it didn't have more horsepower because his acceleration wasn't anything impressive at all.
yeah, so the Regal gets the 2-liter turbo, but it's a down horsepower variant of the 2-liter turbo. And then you can get the premium one or the premium two. But I don't see that either of them would necessarily have lettering on it.
It might have been a year or two old.
Yeah, the 2-liter turbo, but I think it gets as I say, a lower horsepower version of the 2-liter turbo so it's like a 242 horsepower version of the 2-liter turbo.
But
Is
him
what I
having
want to say.
less weight, with the less weight and a 6-speed, he should have been able to stay up with me.
Yeah, the trickiness there is they're not that much lighter because that platform's not very light.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's 259 horsepower. So you actually were ahead on horsepower, and I'd have to look up to see what the weight is for that car. That and you're right. You may be right because I forgot that's on the Epsilon platform, which is the front wheel drive platform, and so it may be lighter than they're not going to show me that easily on the spec sheet, unfortunately.
Right.
But it may be quite a bit lighter than the DeVille, the DDS.
Now, I haven't weighed this one. The other one, I actually took it to a truck stop and weighed it on the scales. With me in it and a half tank of gas, it weighed like just a few pounds, being 4,700 pounds.
Yeah, so I would expect that they're significantly under 4,700 pounds, but it again it would depend on whether it was the rear wheel drive or the all wheel drive variant,
Right.
and then
The all-wheel drive, he shouldn't have been slipping on that roundabout.
yeah, it should not have been. They
I'm guessing it wasn't because of the way he was slipping and sliding.
yeah, I'm trying to look real fast without
Yeah, yeah.
over spending our time here. I'm trying to look real fast to see if I can. Well, like even in the car and driver summary, I don't see a simple summary of stats on the car. Oh, here it is. Um, yeah, 4,000 for the turbo, and the GS is right at the same thing, 4,022. And so they actually rated it pretty good cornering, and the 0 to 60 time is 6.2 seconds for the GS or 6.6 seconds for the normal turbo.
Hmm.
And then they said 0.87 Gs for one of them and zero point 0.9 Gs for the other one for cornering. So it
Well,
could have been a driver problem.
yeah, I'm thinking driver problem because those specs. Not only should he have stayed up with me, he should have beat me.
Well, yeah, you haven't tuned this one yet,
Right.
and so we don't, until we go measure it. But yeah, I would think that your car would be in the similar range as 6.7 to 7.5 in that range, right?
Probably.
Maybe not that good before, maybe 7.5 before tuning. Yeah.
And I think it's quicker than that. Just seat of the pants, I think it's quicker than that.
Yeah.
Quicker than
Well,
7.5.
we'll see, because that's what we need you to do is run some stats before you end up tuning it, and let us know what your experience is with the new car. But yeah, I wish that they had offered that one with the new 6 speed or the new, or eventually offered it with the 8 speed. Is that a stopwatch you're showing me?
Yeah.
We'll
But
get
I
no,
haven't
no.
taken it. I
You
haven't
can get
taken it with me and done anything with it, but I
you
have
can
one.
get your software, get some software for your phone that does pretty well that way. There's a variety of programs you can get on your phone, but it'll use the accelerometer on the phone
Oh,
to
that's right.
just kind of like the gadget that you and I used
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It'll give you close enough on most of that. There's one anyway. Look it up, but there's some gadgets that do that, and because that would make it an interesting report before and after tuning. So Cadillac, I guess I'll respect Cadillac's decision not to lower prices, even though I've been harping about that for a while, and so but that still leaves to me, that still leaves the question wide open for how do you get buyers into the showroom to buy your current cars, especially since you have a year, have adequate adequate numbers of ATSs waiting for buyers to come. It's a wonderful car. I love my wife's ATS. I would not hesitate to buy an ATS, and I would not hesitate to recommend the ATS to others to buy. I think they're great cars. And so if you're in that range and you have not gone to see the ATS, then I highly recommend you consider the ATS. But they do have some for sale, and so they need to figure out a way to increase the sales of the ATS as rapidly as possible. That my concept tied to improving the content, the value content of the higher end, getting rid of the non-turbo four-cylinder and so on. Now, I absolutely agree with them as they come out with the new car. So if they have the new large wheelbase Cadillac come out at $100,000, then that's what they should do is only sell them at $100,000 and only make 200 if that's all they're going to sell. They should only make them, and maybe just do that, make one for every dealer, and then only make them on order, and make that model a special order only model.
Make it exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, where you order it and they make it at the factory and put your name in it and send it to you. Now, also make it where I can replace that when I buy it a year later, so that I can put my name in it. Order the name, just the nameplate. Thank you very much.
Now, next week, it might be interesting to talk about the new ideas or the new statement they made that they will have the self-driving car in the next few years.
Yes, and as I say, I very much see the things like the adaptive cruise control that's in the cars now as the initial steps for that. And I
Okay,
do see,
does
you
either
know,
one of yours does either one of your cars have the lane change, the lane change warning
both of mine
that
do.
tells you
They
when you're not in your lane?
blind spot detection and lane change warning, yes.
Right.
And Ann's car has the, as I say, the adaptive cruise control. And I do see on cross country trips, I could see letting the car drive itself out on the highway if you're having lunch or if you're doing, if I needed to text you about something, then I could see letting the car drive itself while I did that.
Right.
So I do think that having the now I also always want us to be able to turn that stuff off if you're driving
Absolutely.
the car. I don't want the car interfering. Just like cruise control, if I hit the brake, I expect cruise control to go off, not be
Yeah.
enabled. And I'm not going to fight against the car, and I won't have a car that I do have to fight against. But all that said, I am actually more excited about some of these enabling technologies just because I do see, first of all, it's just fun to play with, and which is crucial when you're traveling cross country, right? Is to have entertaining things in the car to play with.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But that said, the other thing I'd like to see more of is just like nav systems have become, in my mind, de rigueur in the car, because I love having a track that tells me exactly how many miles I am from my destination at every moment
I do too.
and how many minutes it thinks it'll take and to be able to beat that time and so on. So there are some of the enabling technologies that and now, so when I was traveling cross country and I got out to Greenville and they shut down the highway both directions while they cleared a fatality accident, bless his heart. Now, if my car could have told me that 50 miles ahead of time and said, hey, Bruce, you probably ought to divert over here to Highway 101 and go around Greenville and then come up on the other side, or let's take this exit because traffic stopped the next exit, and
One
then
of
you'd be
mine
able
does
to.
that.
Yeah, mine. I think it's capable of giving you a traffic alert, but it does not. It doesn't integrate with the nav system and automatically route me to a different way yet
Mine asks me if I want to go a different route.
because it sees a traffic problem.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'm not doing the right thing then. If the car is capable of that, I'm not telling it that that's what it needs to do.
Okay. And yours is newer than mine, so it should be.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
there's just
guessing
some
that.
setting you don't have set right.
Yeah, because it's told me now it doesn't hesitate. I frequently get the thing saying, "Oh my God, you're about to crash and the world's going to come to an end," which suggests that I like to drive closer to other cars than the car prefers, right? But I'll get a little icon on the heads-up display that says, "Ah!" It's like a red block and it shows a car and then symbols above the car. It's "Ah!" So, and I asked my wife, I said, "What is this? What does that symbol mean?" And she said, "She's never seen that." That was another clue. So now I've kept us right. I'm going to keep us right on our 35 minutes for our 30-minute broadcast this week. We're going to start doing these on Wednesday nights like we did tonight for the next several weeks because uh, my son and I are participating in the local Citizens Police Academy on Thursday nights, so we're learning more about police operations and procedures. Jim was kind enough to be with us. Hopefully, Cadillac Jim will be able to join us another week. This is the caddyinfo.com. Caddyinfo.com is a blog and a forum where we talk about Cadillacs and luxury cars. Any last words, Mr. Texas Jim?
No, sir. I've
Thank you.
enjoyed it as usual.
Thank you for being on. We're trying to hold these to 30 minutes. The attention span on the internet is 3 minutes, so you get 10 times more than you need at 30. 10 times more than you need at
But it's
30
a lot
minutes.
of fun. But it's a lot of fun.
But it's a lot of fun. Stand by and we'll chat for a second.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us at home. If you ever want to participate in the broadcast, it actually helps if you have headphones and a microphone, but you don't have to have. You can participate. And thank you to Elizabeth Sauer or whoever was at her computer for posting a couple of questions for us. You can actually participate through text. You can participate through sound. You can participate by asking questions on the forum. If you are able to do Google Hangouts, which is where this is being posted, and then it posts over to YouTube, then circle me on Google Plus and let me know that you would like to join us one week, and I'll try and include you in our invite list. Thank you. Bye-bye.